Aston Villa 2-2.
The thriller at Villa.
The thriller at Villa 2-2 against Spurs. I mean, if you only tuned in to the last 20 minutes of the game, that was where the action was, people. That probably would have been enough, to be honest. It was a non-stop drama at the end to end. Spurs managed to rescue a point in the dying seconds, thanks to Bethany England's header. You predicted her as this season's top scorer, Rach, and it seems to be kind of... it's not out of the question.
Yeah.
We were super impressed by both of them this weekend. I said in the group chat earlier, it felt like a weird vortex in which two identical teams kind of played against each other. I thought the styles were quite similar. I thought on balance, like the chances were quite similar. The
managers
passion,
are both called Robert.
Literally that. I was like, it's a bit of a Black Mirror episode. This one
was this when you were just sending your stream of consciousness into the WhatsApp group and getting no replies?
Yeah, that was it. I was one message away from sending a hay bale. Blowing across the screen.
I could tell you were sat at home on your couch with your feet up.
Yeah,
I was like, who else am I going to talk to about this? And the rest of us, nobody replied. I was at a game, I'm sorry.
Literally, no one was there. Our producer didn't reply. My partner was working. I had no one to speak to. I was looking after her dogs this weekend and they didn't seem to want to engage with my game analysis. So, what did you think of the game?
Well, I worried in the kind of up to the 75th minute that it was going to be another game that ended 1-0. And I was like, after all the hype of last weekend, was this going to be a really dull weekend and every game was going to be 1-0? But then my game had an equaliser and then everything went wild in the last 20 minutes of that game. And I was on the tube going home and I was trying to keep up. And every time I scrolled or got to a station with a little bit of signal, there was another goal.
Well.
Very exciting.
That's your fault.
And also I like the fact that it's some OG WSL players coming up clutch in the big moments. Bethany England, Rachel Daly, Jordan Nobbs having like a peak Jordan Nobbs performance.
The golden era renaissance
of
WSL players.
And I just feel like some of these players maybe have been not forgotten about or written off, but like, we don't maybe see their peak every time, or maybe they haven't been used as much, or in the case of Bethany England, she injured at the beginning of last season and had that surgery and has had to come back into it. And I just think coming in, scoring a key goal, she is so dangerous in those moments, and she is one of those players that's appears to be very cool, calm and collected in high pressure moments, and that you can really rely on. And I think she showed exactly why she is a key player for Spurs to come in and get that. It was a 96th minute.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Crazy.
Literally. I think, from my perspective, in terms of, I do feel like it's kind of given us a new era of Spurs, that game. I know it wasn't sort of, it's a very kind of evenly matched game in terms of kind of where the teams are expected to kind of reach this season. But for me, it kind of felt like there was that resilience and determination to really find the winner from both teams. And I think as soon as that goal went in for Villa, the second goal for Villa, I was thinking, okay, well, like it's late in the day now, like 88th minute, like realistically, are Spurs going to be able to get this back? But then, Beth England pops up, and I think that was their kind of the ability to kind of scrape out that draw, to earn that point. They've had a good start to the season, win under their belt in the first game, admittedly against Crystal Palace, who obviously, fresh into the league, and a draw. Now sitting third place. Appreciate it's really early days, but I feel like for Robert Villahamn, unchanged starting 11 for this game. And it just feels like there's a consistency building in the squad, a kind of momentum, a confidence, that kind of resilience, I suppose. In terms of kind of the styles of play, did you see anything similar between them both? Because I felt like they both kind of adopted a very high line at points, which then led to kind of chances happening at the back. That's why I felt like there was a bit of a mirror game in terms of their playing styles at points.
Yeah, and something as well that was noticed, I think, from a Spurs perspective, was they're just playing a little bit more defensively conservative compared to what we saw last season, when, if you remember last season, it was all about like, if we just score more goals than the opponent, then we will win. And it was a bit like, it doesn't matter about defending if we're scoring goals. So I think that was an interesting thing to note, and whether that's something they're and maybe that's how they're approaching, away games, or the fact that they were playing a new manager, a squad under a new manager, maybe you don't know as much about the squad in terms of what to expect from them as well. So maybe there was a little bit more conservatism in that respect. But yeah, I see what you mean about like similarities between the two teams.
For sure.
And I actually think it was a really good, not example, but like to see where both teams are, because this is where, it's key for teams in the middle for consistency against teams in and around them, right? Like, it's one thing to get a big result off a top 4 side here and there, but picking up points against the teams in and around you. So, Villa obviously starting against Chelsea, maybe not giving you exactly what you might expect from Aston Villa, given who they're up against. Similarly, Spurs starting against Crystal Palace. Is that a really good reflection of how we're going to see them this season? Probably not. So actually this game, I feel like, gave you a really good representation of what we can come to expect from both sides.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that really super impressed me with Spurs is that when they went that goal down, there was kind of a real heart and passion to get that goal back. And in terms of how they actually planned, so it wasn't like despite them being desperate for that goal, they didn't feel desperate in their attempts. Yeah, it wasn't panicky. There was long balls going forwards, but there were long balls with intention, and there was a build-up play in what led to Bethany England's goal. I mean, it was kind of trying to get the spaces, trying to kind of pull Villa apart. I mean, the goal came from a diag. It looked like an almost sort of like in the air cutback, and then Bethany England finding that front post. And to me, I think, despite it being a really desperate moment to try and get that goal, there was still build-up play, there was still patience, there was still doing the right things, and that I think is that's a sign of game intelligence, where you don't just loft the ball forwards and just hope for the best,
and trusting in a manager's process as well.
For sure.
And I think we saw a lot of that last season, and that was only the first year. So second year under Robert Villaham, there's a real buy-in. I think what's interesting is how quickly Villa seem to have clicked under the new manager. I think that, from a Villa fans' perspective, they should be really excited about how well the team is playing already. Of course, that performance against Chelsea will really excite them. But, this is another good example of they were down, they were back in it, they went ahead. It's all experiences that the team can bank and give some confidence. And something I've noticed about Villa is how much more comfortable they are in possession.
Definitely. And I think, on that same vein, we've got to talk about Rachel Daly. Obviously, she's got the assist for the first goal, got the second goal as a header. I absolutely love that second goal. I don't think Becky Spencer should have come out for it. It kind of felt like she'd misjudged maybe the flight of the ball. It was very far out, and I think that was a kind of area that I think the defence could have cleared up for her. I don't think she had the best game, but it looked like she'd picked up a bit of a knock and an injury for that the first goal. So yeah, I'm hoping that she's okay, because she did look in quite a lot of discomfort. But yeah, and then obviously for the celebration as well of Rachel Daly's knee slide into the corner, it was like a kind of Euros win type vibe off the back of it. Obviously appreciating that she probably thought she'd got the winner at that point. But yeah, how much do we think that's a kind of sign to come for Rachel Daly? Good start.
Yeah, absolutely. And scoring in the manner that she did, it wasn't just, a goal at 10 minutes in. It was an important goal, a key goal. Like you say, probably thought she'd won the team the game. They'd been behind, they'd come level. For her to get the winning goal will do her a huge amount of confidence, give her a huge amount of confidence, but also an example of the importance of that experience in the squad. Your Lucy Staniforth, your Jordan Nobbs, your Rachel Daly's, your Rachel Corsies, that experience of players who've gone through moments like this and know game's not over until the whistle blows. And it sounds really cliche, but I think it's showing that they don't drop their heads in those moments. And, they might be ticking along to 70, 75 minutes thinking we're not going to get back into this, and that's not their mindset anymore. And I think that's very important. That will come from those leaders.
Well, another OG in the Villa squad, Jordan Nobbs, made her 192nd appearance at the weekend. She's now tied with Sophie Ingle for the most appearances in WSL history. Obviously, it's likely that she'll probably be making history next weekend with her 193rd appearance, hopefully getting a run out against Brighton. And obviously with Sophie Ingle now out for the foreseeable future with an ACL injury, it looks like she will be very much on par for creating WSL history next weekend.
I asked Robert Pauw about that in the pre-match press conference, just about the importance of Jordan Nobbs and the fact that she was coming up to this milestone. And he said he didn't know. And he was like, no. And he was like, oh, now I feel under pressure, like I have to play her. But I don't think it was a difficult decision. She was at the heart of everything. She was playing slightly deeper, I think. But yeah, at the heart of everything, which is what we know and love Jordan Nobbs for. So to see her being so key to that squad again is great. And it's a positive sign of things to come for Villa.
Definitely.